So we'll go back a little bit quad. I think it's, uh, I think the control was covered in the last class, and we will just see like important thing about the control. The control helps us to measure the progress. Okay, and first is what is a control. Control is a mechanism where we can set the standards, establish the standards. There are three steps: establish the standards. Once you establish the standards, you measure and compare. Okay, whatever the activities that are going on, you will measure and compare against the set standards. Whatever the actual work has been done, you will compare it with the standards, and then comes the variation. And if there is any kind of a variation, then you will bring in the action. The last one is the action, so that the whatever the work that is going on is on track, right? So that is the main importance of the control. And the need for the control, we already saw it. Helps us to measure the progress, how much work has been done. It will give us a good idea. The control mechanism will tell us whether 50% work is complete, 60% is complete, 70%. So it will show us the progress, and if there are any variations or the deviations, it will uncover those. Okay, whatever due to the change or the complexity or mistakes or delegation, due to any of these reasons, if there are any deviation in the work that is being done, if it is deviating from the set standards, then it will uncover those deviations. And to indicate corrective actions, also it gives an indication that something needs to be corrective action needs to be brought in, so that the progress will be as per the plan, to transmit corrective action to the operation. So whatever the operations that are happening, to bring in those corrective actions, so that everything will be in the track. And there are two types of control methods. One is post-oriented control, and one is the future-oriented control. In case of a post-oriented control, the control will come in picture after the complete activity. Let us say you are manufacturing some product. Once the product is ready, okay, then you will have the control mechanism. You will check against the standards whether it is done according to the standards or not. Those kind of controls are called as a post oriented controls. And future oriented controls, in order to we won't wait until the end so that the product is already finished. We will have a much earlier stage. So some of the stages you will identify where you bring in the control mechanisms, and looking at that, we will the future oriented controls will give an indication whether work will be completed or not. So that indication will help us to take the corrective action, and we don't need to wait until the end. So we can take a preventive action early in the complete activity. So those are the future oriented controls. Okay, so post-oriented control technique are also known as a post-action controls. They measure the results after the work is completed. Okay, it is like a post-mortem. When everything is done, it will be it will be checked whether it is according to the standards or it is deviating from the standards. Examples are accounting records, right? When organization is working, all the transactions will happen. Okay, whatever the transaction, accounting transactions will happen, and then the accounts will be checked. That is a post oriented control. Then inspection of goods and services means after goods and services are provided, then it is inspected. So it is post. And similarly, your school grade reports, after the test is completed, then it is checked. That is a post oriented control. So based on the grade, the corrective actions will be, if there is a certain thing is lacking, the score is less in certain model, so preparation will be done with respect to that model. That is the corrective action. but it will be after the all the event is complete. These controls can be used to plan future steps before repeating the same operation. They can also be used as a basis for rewarding, disciplining, training, or promoting the individual. So it can be used as a basis for training, like based on the output what we have. So based on if the work is done very well, it can be rewarded. And similarly, if there is any issue, it can be used for the discipline purposes. One second. Okay. So that is the post-oriented slideshow. Okay, and future oriented control technique is like it's also called as a steering controls, or steering into the right direction, or feed forward control. They measure the results before the work is completed. So even before the work is completed, we can have several stages that can be checked. At several stages you will set the standards. If that at that particular stage, if it meets that standard, then it is assumed that it will be completed without any problem. They serve as a warning post, principally to direct attention rather than to evaluate. So it is used to direct the attention in the midst, to put the things in the right direction, to steer the things in the right direction, so it will be completed. So examples are cash flow for any organization. Let us say there is a check on the cash flow. You don't wait until the complete transactions to complete, and then you check the accounting for, let's say, for a quarterly reports or half yearly reports. You will in between, let us say on a regular basis or a daily basis, you will check the cash flow. If the cash flow is not as per the expectation, so you will set some standards, then corrective measures are taken. Similarly, fund flow analysis, network planning, etc. So this enables managers to keep a watch on an operation while it is progressing, and to see that they will have problems in such areas as cash or on-time delivery unless they take prior action. So manager can use this as a tool where he can identify whether whatever the work that is going to be completed, whether it is in the right track or not, whether it is progressing correctly or not. These will give us a indicators. If there is any variation, corrective measures can be taken in the early stage, so we don't have to wait until the end. Okay. Here are some example. Mail order companies, depending upon what kind of a order they are getting, how much weight the order is, they can plan their activities, like based on the whatever the volume they are getting, they will plan for the delivery in such a way. If required, they will have additional resources. So according to the order, so that is an early indication of amount of work that is going to be getting. Okay, so that this particular exam talks about that with varying the volumes. So based on the order, whether the order is more or less, you'll come to know about the volume of the work at the later stage, and accordingly you will tune the resources. Okay, and these two types, they are not alternative to each other. Means what? Both are not a individual's alternative. If one is present, that doesn't mean other is not required. Most of the organizations, they will have both kind of controls. One is future oriented. They will check at various stages to make sure the end result is correct. But in case of a future oriented, it is just the assumption that at this stage, if it meets the standards, it is assumption that the end product will be as per the standard set. But still, to ensure that even though you have intermediate checks which will identify the problem at the earlier stage, still you want to have the post oriented. Once the product is complete, you must check that whether it is according to the standards. the manage okay, and one more thing about the thing, whether post oriented and future oriented, how many controls you want to have, right? It depends on the organization and what type of activity is being carried out. And the also there is a cost factor to it. If your end product is very sensitive for each of the work at each of the stage, then definitely you should go for a future oriented major at a different stages. And also there is an additional cost. And irrespective of the future oriented controls, you will need to have some kind of a post oriented controls. And in some manufacturing things, thousands of products will be getting produced every day, right? In that case, you cannot test every product. Let us say a factory is manufacturing some product. They are producing 10,000 products per day. So it is practically impossible to check all those 10,000 products. What they do is the sampling. So the production will be done in the batches. Okay, let's say batch of 500, and in that batch, randomly 5 or 10 products are picked, and those are tested. That is how the it is done in the manufacturing units. Next is the coordination. Okay, coordination is a very very important aspect of any organization. So before we proceed with the coordination, what do you understand by the coordination? What do you think? What is the meaning of the coordination? Anybody? There is another word, cooperation is also there. Okay, so cooperation is different. We will see the comparison between coordination and the cooperation. Or can you give me any example of a cooperation? Anybody? Unmute and you can speak. What do you understand by coordination? I know all of you know this word, coordination. Maybe you are not able to put it in the right work together effectively. Very good. Okay, so work together effectively is like coordination is I will give with the example, start with the example, then we will go in detail. What is a coordination is, let us say electrical department, they want to set up the their laboratory computer lab. It is instructed by the college that computer science department should coordinate with the electrical department to set up the lab. So coordination is, so computer science department has all the required knowledge and the information. They will assist them, they will provide that information, and they will help in building the that particular lab. That is a coordination. When you are working in a team, we have to have a coordination. Let us say next year you are going to do the a project. When you are doing a project as a team, you have to coordinate be carried out. So that is the meaning of the coordination. And coordination is the most important thing, because today's organizations are very complex. They have many departments, and many departments have to work, they have to coordinate properly in order for the organization to succeed. So coordination is the major factor. And some of the times you will say, for some of the failures, you hear the word that coordination is not there. The proper coordination between the departments, or between the various branches of the organization is missing. That is the major cause for the failure. Coordination will boost the productivity, or it will hinder the all the activities. It depends on the how people will coordinate. So as we know, the management of modern enterprise is based on the principle of specialization or division of labor. Okay, so we talked about the specialization or division of labor. So all the work is divided into a specialized entities. So that is how the work is divided, and a specialization is created. So jobs are broken down into single repetitive tasks and are entrusted to individuals either working in the same department or in different departments of the enterprise. So whatever the work that is being carried out, it is broken down and it is given to the different people in the same department, or it can be given to the department across the enterprises. Okay, but the mere application of principle of specialization does not enable an organization to attain the desired result. So by making the specialization or a division of labor, there are a lot of advantages, but just by making these entities separate, just the creating the specialization, it will not give the required results. So what it says is, like, just by making a specialization it will not help. What we need is, even though you make the specialization, a proper coordination should be present. The jobs with specialized and dividing among units, coordination becomes the necessary. So when you are dividing into different units or different departments or different branches, coordination is very, very important. Coordination is the management of interdependence of work situation. Okay, this is very important. What is coordination? Coordination is a interdependence, means one department is dependent on other, and the other department is dependent on the other for some kind of work to be carried out. I give the example. Electrical department, they want to set up the computer lab, so they will require the knowledge of the computer science department also as per their requirement. So whatever the software, they have to provide the information so that the required softwares will be given to them or installed for them. One second. Okay, so coordination, it is the orderly synchronization or fitting together of interdependent efforts of individuals in order to attain a common goal. So it is orderly synchronization or fitting together. Whatever is the interdepartment dependent efforts are there among the individuals, they will work together to achieve the common goal. That is called as the that is called the coordination. So one good example given here is the hospital. In case of a hospital, there are certain activities carried out by the doctor, certain carried by the nurses, ward attendants, lab technicians, and many different things will be there in the hospital. But if you see, they coordinate among them to take care of the patients. That is whatever the doctor is doing, nurse will coordinate. Okay, so related to the patient situation, so she will do the coordination, and all other ward attendants and the lab technician, they in order to achieve the common goal of giving a good care, all these people work together, that they coordinate, they will provide information to each other. That is how they will work together as a team. So in modern enterprises, which consists of number of departments, so I told you modern organizations are very complex with many specialized departments. Like we will have a production, purchase, sales, finance, personnel, etc. There is a need for all of them to properly time their independent activities and to effectively reunite the subdivided work. So in a department, we have a production is going on, purchases are happening, sales are happening, finance department is working, personnel department is working, operation team is working. So they have to work in a coordinated manner to achieve the organizational goals. For example, the production team. What is the goal of the production team? Production team to achieve the highest productivity, right? In order to achieve the highest productivity, the machineries which are used should be in a proper condition. They should be working well, they should not fail, right? And maintenance team, what is the job of the maintenance team? There The job of the maintenance team is to make sure that the machines are in working condition no matter what. Okay, so they will take a proper preventive care, and in case of a failure, they will fix those machineries in a shortest possible time. So if maintenance team works well, then production team can work well. So that is how the interdependency is there, and they have to coordinate. To coordinate is to keep expenditure proportionate to financial resources, equipment and tools to production needs, stock to rate of consumption, sales to production, and so on. So how we should coordinate is to make sure that the whatever the expenditure are there is a proportional. For example, whatever the production people are producing, it should be in line with the sales team. How much sales team is selling, according to that you have to do the production. Let us say sales team is selling like 5,000 products. There is no point in producing 10,000 products per day, right? So it should match with the whatever the sales figure. That is how each of the department should coordinate. It is like build the house neither too small nor too big, means just appropriate, adapt the tools to its use, the road to the vehicle, the whatever is necessity, how much ever is a necessity, you should work according to that. Safety precaution to the risk. So what it says is whatever activities that is being carried out, it should be done economically, means it should be in line with the what is required and what is being given. Both should be in line. So that is how the department should work. In a well coordinated enterprise, the following facts are to be observed. Okay, so if a proper organization is well coordinated, these things we will observe. What we will observe: each department works in harmony with the rest. So all the department, it will work in harmony with the rest. Stores know what has to be supplied and at what time. Production knows it's a target. Maintenance keeps equipments and tools in a good order. So see, this is how they are working in the harmony. Whatever the storage, so it will supply the appropriate material at appropriate time, and production team knows how much should be produced. That is the target. And maintenance team, they will make sure that all the machineries, equipments, tools are in a good position so as to production can meet the particular target. Each department, division and subdivision is precisely informed as to share it must take the common task. Okay, so each department, the division, subdivision, whatever we have, everybody will be well informed what is their share of common task. So they will be completely aware what is their portion of the work and what needs to be executed. Working schedule for the schedule of the various department is constantly attuned to circumstances. So the schedule will be in tune with the other departments. So one good example here is like if it is on a daily basis, the production team will finish its production. Okay, then the sales team will come into picture. Okay, better example is the newspapers. Every morning you see the newspaper. So all day the news reporters, they collect the information, right? They collect the information, and let us say at midnight the printing starts. Okay, it depends on the circulation, how many papers they are printing. They will time it according. The printing will start after the work of the all the reporters. So the reporters will go home, they are done with their day's work, they will go home, and next the printing people. So if there is a printing people, their work starts. So maybe they will work all night so that morning everybody gets the paper. The distribution team will start in the morning. Once the printing is over, distribution. So that is how that is what the schedule is attuned to each other. Some management practitioners consider coordination as a separate managerial function. Okay, so some practitioners, they feel that coordination is a separate managerial function because it is very important aspect of the management. However, coordination might best be considered not as a separate function, but as an essential part of all the managerial functions of planning, organizing, directing, and controlling. So, what some of the people feel, instead of thinking coordination as a separate management function, it is a essential part of a existing managerial function, that is planning. So planning involves coordination, organizing involves coordination, directing involves coordination, and controlling involves coordination. So coordination is part of all the managerial functions. Okay, whatever managerial function, every managerial function needs a coordination. If manager performs these functions efficiently and expertly, coordination is generated automatically, and there remains no need for special coordination as such. So, if these works are done properly, efficiently, that means there is a well coordination. So, for example, the manager performs his function of planning. He first thinks of the coordination and tries to achieve it by properly interrelating the plans of various departments. So here you can see the coordination comes into picture. When he is planning, he will consider the plans of the other departments also. So that there is a interdependency, he will consider it well ahead at the planning stage. Similarly, in case of organizing, the manager constantly bears in the mind the need for coordination. He defines relationship between the departments in such a manner and sets them in such a way that coordination will result. So when he is doing the organizing, he will consider the other department and what kind of relations that will be kept with the other department, and what kind of a coordination has to be done with those departments will be clearly mentioned at the organizing stage. At the directing stage, the manager always takes into account the effect of his particular action, that is giving order, instruction. So will have on the other departments and executive. When he is using his action, that is directing, giving orders, so he will have the other departments, whatever the other departments that they need to work or the coordinate for particular manager, that will be well taken in the phase of the directing. In other words, manager performs his directing function, he invariably coordinates. So normally when he is dealing with, he may not give the order, it depends on the authority, but when he is working with the other departments, he uses the coordination as the major tool to get his work done. Next is the controlling function, is one that brings about the coordination. In controlling, the manager evaluates operation and checks whether the performance is in conformity with the desired standard. If he finds the deviation, he takes remedial action. By doing this, he assures coordination at least from then on. So if there is any at the stage of controlling, if any deviation is present, and if that deviation is because of the lack of coordination, he will consider the remedial action as the proper coordination, maybe within the team or with the external team. Okay, so what is the distinction between the coordination and cooperation? So in general, so coordination is the information that has to be shared, and they have to work with the other departments or with other individuals. Okay, it's a interdependency, that is how the complete work will be done. If in order to work to be done, complete work to be done, two individuals or multiple individuals or multiple departments, they have to coordinate in order to have the work completed. And what is the cooperation? Cooperation is mostly it is like a volunteer, right? In an organization there won't be any cooperation term is not used, it's a coordination. Coordination is, it's a responsibility of every interdependent individuals or the departments to work towards that particular goal. Cooperation is more of a like a volunteer thing. And cooperation doesn't hold a person responsible, or person or the department responsible. The same phrase I will rephrase, same example. Let us say, instead of saying computer science department should coordinate with electrical department to successfully set up the computer lab, if you say computer science department must cooperate. So when you say cooperate, it is like a more of a voluntary kind of a thing. So it might or may not cooperate. So you can think in that direction. In organization, coordination, it brings in the responsibility, it brings in the action, it brings in the common goal. So if you are part of the coordination team, you are also be held responsible. When it is cooperation, it is more of a volunteer thing. A responsibility is not defined, so responsibility is not is taken by any cooperating department or the cooperating individual. Teamwork requires both coordination of the work and cooperation of the persons involved. Members in a team are expected to show their voluntary willingness to work together for a certain common goals. They are expected to orient their behavior with respect to those goals. This is cooperation. So you can see here, teamwork, both coordination and cooperation in the persons involved. So there must be both cooperation and coordination. Here you can say members in a team are expected to show their voluntary willingness to work together. So voluntary willingness to work together, they are expected to orient their behavior towards the goal. This is a cooperation. Two important characteristics of voluntary cooperations are its emotional context and its need for continuing attention. So it is more, cooperation is more of a, it comes in the emotional context, right? Or a need of continuing attention. So in that way, the cooperation will come. Voluntary cooperation between a supervisor and subordinate, predominantly an emotional response based largely on the subordinates feeling towards the boss, the job, and the company. So the cooperation is more driven by the emotions, how he feels towards the his job, his manager, and his company. He cooperates because he wants to. Rarely does he decide to cooperate by rationally balancing required effort and the possible reward. So that is how he will do in case of a cooperation. Further, voluntary cooperation needs to be continually nurtured because a subordinate's earlier enthusiasm may wane over the time when other duties obligations begin competing for limited supply of his energy. So at early stage, you see a lot of, when people are asked to cooperate, there is a lot of enthusiasm at the beginning stage. As time lapses, if that feeling is not nurtured, so that cooperation, because he has a limited energy, if he is loaded with other work or anything, so the kind of cooperation he will give will reduce. But cooperation in any organization will usually be ineffective, will not reach its goals, whatever the intentions of the members, unless each one of them is informed of the behavior of the others upon which he can base his own decision. So normally cooperation doesn't, it is not effective way in any particular organization. Okay. The information giving is a coordination. What is a coordination? So far we saw the cooperation. It is mostly, it is a voluntary. Okay. There is no responsibility attached to it. So in case of a coordination, it is more of a information giving, and it is a taking the common responsibility. For instance, consider a group of men attempting to move a heavy object. They are sufficient in number, willing to, eager to cooperate with each other and trying to do their best to move the object. They are actually aware of their common purposes. However, in likelihood, their efforts will be of little avail until one of them coordinates. Okay, so this is an example. They are moving a very heavy object. Sufficient numbers are there. with the cooperation. Like nobody knows like how everybody is capable and all they can finish that work, but unless somebody coordinates that work, so okay, somebody steers that work, it will not be done. That is, he gives a proper direction to all the members of the group to apply the right amount of effort at the right place at the right time. So, uh, so that is the coordination. Unless there is a coordination, a work cannot be done. Thus, coordination is superior in order of importance to cooperation. So, if you consider the cooperation, coordination is very, very important. What is the need for coordination? Need for coordination arises because of the few factors. First is division of labor. We know when managers divide the work, it is specialized into different departments. That is the reason we need the coordination. Okay, generally, when we have more number of departments, then more coordination is required. Okay, if there are very few people in the organization, the coordination is not a big problem. Okay, if our organization is very big and very complex, then the it comes the question of the coordination. And coordination ensures proper synchronization between the activities of different units, avoid interruptions in operation due to reasons, okay, such as delay of supply of materials. Okay, I give that example. The store will give the material at the proper time. Production will take that and it will produce the products at with a given target. Sales will take that. So there is a common a coordinated way of doing the work. Another example is, if you take the example of a car, it is equipped with accelerator, brake, and clutch. So if they work in coordination, then only the car will move properly. If you press all of them, right, it results nothing. If you press accelerator, brake, as well as clutch, so nothing will result. So that is, car will not move. But if they work in a coordinated way, the car will move and it will work properly. Need for coordination, interdependence of units, right? The need for coordination in an organization also arises because of the interdependence of various units. Because various units are interdependent, we have to have the coordination. uh, the greater the interdependence of the units, the greater the need for the coordination. And this is illustrated by James Thompson typology of interdependence. Thompson points out the units can be linked in any of the three ways. One is a pooled interdependence, sequential interdependence, reciprocal interdependence. Pooled is what? When we have a group of people, when it is pooled, okay, then whatever the interdependency they have, that is called as a pooled. Let us say we have pooled the production activity into different groups. I give an example where we are producing 10,000 products. There is a group, 10 groups, okay, 10 pools which will produce 1,000. Then there should be a proper coordination between these teams. That is a pooled interdependence. Sequential interdependence, if certain work has to be done in a sequential manner, and it is the department that are producing are in sequential, then it is a sequential interdependence. Reciprocal is one department is dependent on the other, and the other department is in turn dependent on this department for some other reason. That is reciprocal interdependence. Pooled interdependence units linked by the pooled interdependence makes contribution to the total organization but are not directly related. Sequential interdependence, in this kind of a linkage, one organizational unit must act before the next can. Okay, so it has to go in a sequential way. Reciprocal, one unit is dependent on other and other is dependent on the first one. That is a, they are dependent for each other for their output. Requisite for excellent coordination. Okay, what are the requisites? Good coordination, okay, attacks the problem as they arise. Excellent coordination anticipates them and prevents their occurrence. Following are some of the important requisites for excellent coordination: direct contact, early start, continuity, dynamism, clear-cut objectives, simplified organization, clean definition of authority and responsibility, effective communication, effective leadership, and supervision. So coordination will help in all these things. Types of coordination. Coordination may be classified as two types: internal, external, vertical, or horizontal. Coordination among the employees, okay, at the same level, okay. It can be at the same level, and managers at a different level among the branch offices, plants, departments, and sections is called as a internal. So whatever the communication that is happening inside, okay, within the organization is called as a internal. Communication happening with the external entities, as such as customers, suppliers, any government bodies, that is a external. Vertical coordination is what exists within the department, where department head is called upon to coordinate the activities. So within the department, whatever the hierarchy is there, that is a vertical coordination. Horizontal coordination, it is between the different departments. So that is a horizontal coordination. By procedural coordination is meant the specification of the organization itself, that is generalized description of the behavior and the relationship of the members of the organization. And procedural coordination establishes the lines of authority. Okay, so if it is a procedural coordination, it defines the line of authority, outlines the spheres of activity and authority of each member of the organization. And one more is a substantive coordination is concerned with the content of the organization's activity. So it is mostly the content of the organization, that is substantive coordination. Here is the example. In automobiles factory, an organization chart is an aspect of a procedural coordination. So if you have the organization chart, so organization chart is what it gives all the human resources and how their authority is. You have CEO under him, vice president, senior directors, and that is the organization chart, and that is a example of a procedural coordination. While blueprints for the engine block of the car being manufactured is an aspect of substantive coordination, because it is a content. Blueprint is a content information, that is a substantive coordination. Techniques of coordination. Following are some important techniques of coordination approaches to. So what are the different way to coordinate? Rules, procedures, and policies. You can create in them such a way that you bring in the proper coordination, planning, hierarchy, what is the order, direct contact, task force. You can create the task force, okay, for the better coordination. You can create committees, special committees which will coordinate among various aspects. Induction is giving information to the newly joined people of the organization, that is a induction. Incentives, okay. Liaison departments are, they work as an interface between two departments. Let us say two departments are, they are totally in a different domains, and they cannot interact. The third department we can create as a liaison department, which will work as a interface between them. Then the workflow. So whatever the workflow you create, that is the another way of the coordination. Okay, that completes the module 2. Please wait.